Thank you, and welcome to our first MNPS virtual town hall meeting. We appreciate everyone taking an opportunity to join in with us this afternoon. We appreciate you joining today specifically because we're taking some time to answer some of your many questions caused by the COVID-19 closure of our school facilities. I'm Dr. Adrienne Battle, Director of Schools for Metro Nashville Public Schools, and I have with me here today Dr. David Williams, our Chief Academic Officer, and Dr. Chris Barnes, our Chief of Human Resources, who are here to help answer some of the questions submitted by our students, families, and our staff. I want to start off by thanking everyone watching for your patience, your understanding, and support during these trying times. For the last few weeks, our teams have been focused on addressing the most immediate needs of our students, families, and staff, both in mind and in body. This week, we started providing printed materials for distance learning at our food distribution sites throughout the county for those who don't have access to technology in their home or for those who prefer printed copies. And we're providing computers to seniors who need access for credit recovery programs. Later this week, we'll be releasing an accessibility and accommodations resource guide to further support our student populations with the greater needs. Last week, we handed out 22,000 breakfast and lunch meals, and we expect to provide even more this week with new locations where students can pick up these nutritious meals. We're going to be closed at least through April 24th. And again, that's an update from over a week ago that we will be closed at least through April 24th and very likely beyond that point. At this current outbreak, we know that it may last much longer and that it is a global situation at this point. This month, Nashville and Metro schools have been consumed with crisis response, from the tornadoes to COVID-19. This pandemic has caught many government and agencies off guard, and we must be honest that there was not and is not a playbook for unprecedented times like these. What we're experiencing today is not anything like we experienced with the 1998 storms, with the 2003 snowstorms, with the 2010 flood even. While we still have a lot of immediate problems to tackle, we have to keep our eye on a long-term solution, a long-term plan that allows us to keep moving forward even when the world around us has shut down. Our process entails three particular areas. One, meeting the basic humanitarian needs of our students. Two, surfacing best short-term learning opportunities for children with parental and educator supports. And three, convening an expert team to develop options for longer-term teaching and learning opportunities. Let's be clear. Distance learning is never going to be a good replacement for classroom instruction for all or even most of our students. However, when we're left with no immediate great options, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And if and when we're faced with similar situations to what we're experiencing now, we will and we must be better prepared from the start. We must eliminate technology equity gaps that leaves many of our students without computers or internet access when schools are closed. We must see that our students experiencing the greatest needs are having those needs met even when the public health demands that we keep our distance. We must ensure our workforce is properly trained on how to provide the best possible education under the least optimal conditions. We will not solve all these problems alone. Luckily, Nashville has an unparalleled volunteer spirit, and we will look to tap into the creative minds and generosity of the many individuals and organizations who wish to be a part of our current and future success here at Metro Nashville Public Schools. I've appreciated the patience and understanding of so many students, staff, and families as we've worked to address the challenges we face so far and the challenges yet to come. I know that we'll get through this together and come out even stronger as an organization and as a community. So, with that being said, at this time, I would like to turn it over to our student moderator, the great Don Efanami, a senior at Martin Luther King Jr. Magnet School, who is going to ask the questions that have been submitted this week. Don, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Battle, and thank you for inviting me to ask these questions submitted by students, staff, and family members of Metro Nashville Public Schools. Just a reminder, these questions were submitted online last week and should represent the most frequently asked questions by MNPS stakeholders. We will rotate through student, family, and staff questions and try to get through as many as possible in this hour. Our first question is from Kennedy at White Creek High, and Kennedy asks if prom is going to be rescheduled because most students have gotten custom pieces made and are unable to send them back.
Thank you, Don, for that question. And thank you, Kennedy, for submitting that particular question regarding prom. First, let me start by saying I recognize this is an unprecedented time for everyone. None of us, especially our seniors, could have predicted what we're currently facing here in Metro Nashville Public Schools and or across the country in many districts. Our reality is that schools will remain closed at least through April 24th. And so while we've had to make a lot of tough decisions, this is one that has weighed very heavy with our team. But due to school closures, currently all proms have been canceled. We needed to ensure that any cancellations provided enough opportunities for our school teams, for our vendors, and especially for our students and families to make the appropriate accommodations and modifications to our plans. Of course, at the time that we do resume school and we're able to safely welcome everyone back to Metro Nashville Public Schools, we would look to maintain and or kind of go back and recoup some of the senior activities that may be missed during the time of school closures. So again, thank you for that question. Unfortunately, we due to the school closures, we have canceled proms to date, but we will look to plan as quickly and swiftly as we can at the point that we can resume school.
Ms. Robinson works at J.C. Moore and asks, what is the best way teachers can support students during this time?
So I think that's a great question, and thank you, Dawn. Again, David Williams, Chief Academic Officer. We think one of the most important things that teachers can do is just continue to reach out, connect, and engage with their students and families. We know that the teacher is one of the most important adults in the life of their students, and we think that any touch point that the teachers can provide can provide a sense of normalcy and stability in the uncertain and challenging times that we face. We know we've heard a lot of creative ways that teachers have continued to do this through Facebook posts, through virtual meetings and lessons that they can continue to engage their kids in. But again, we think it's very important that teachers and staff work to maintain touch points, even if it's not focused on academic learning, even though that would be great. We do think that there's a social and emotional learning component, and maintaining those relationships that our teachers have worked so hard to establish so far this year, that they find a way for them to continue.
Our next question is from Nikki, who's a family member of a student at Haynes Middle School. Nikki asks, how can one motivate a child to do schoolwork at home?
So this is a great question about maintaining motivation. So I think it's first to understand that there needs to be a clear expectation that learning does continue, whether that's available using the available resources that Metro has provided, or other learning forms that may exist through the television station, through YouTube. There's lots of different ways that learning can continue. But we think it's important for families and parents to set a clear expectation that learning does continue in the home in some form or some capacity. We all think it's really critically important that families establish clear expectations and routines of a daily schedule that they can follow. We think it's important to start early in the morning, get a healthy routine going, and that needs to include a variety of things. It can include academic learning, certainly, but also some playtime, some free time, maybe some nap time, exercise time, certainly, of course, time for meals. But we do think it's important to have a healthy balance and design a productive day, and we think that families should engage their children in designing those productive ways together and make sure that those happen repeatedly and regularly. We do think that things like giving students choice. Do you want to do your math activity, or would you like to read a book first? We think choice is important. We think it's also helpful to turn learning situations into game-like activities. We think it's important to provide brain breaks. This is something that we encourage our teachers to do normally in the classroom, so that they're doing some work time balanced with some free time and some play time to offset that and give students a balance. We think it's important to set some expectations for the week or even the day and find ways to chart progress towards completion of those goals that you establish for the day towards the longer term goals that you establish for the week. So these are some ways that we think might motivate kids to continue in the learning space.
And Don, if you don't mind, before we ask the next question, I want to make sure that our audience who's tuning in can hear and follow the questions that have been asked. So I'm going to ask those who are responding to questions to repeat the question just for clarity's sake, so that those listening can follow our responses. In particular, Dr. Williams, the last question was about how to continue to motivate students while at home learning. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, thank you.
Amber attends MLK Magnet and wants to know for AP students whether the exam is still going to happen and how students can take this exam without having covered some of the materials in class.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So for AP students, the College Board has released some information and guidance that the assessments will be administered at home. I've got some information here that I can share with you. There will be about 45 minutes in length, free response with no multiple choice questions, and they will be open note questions. More specifics about the content that will be included on these assessments will be posted April 3rd on the College Board website. I encourage you to continue to check the College Board website frequently. As soon as we have updates from the College Board, we are also updating all the information that we have posted on our MNPS site. And I want to go ahead and mention that we do have a new page live currently today. It's mnps.org/seniors, and there is a section that gives a little more detail than I'm explaining here related to AP assessments and how they'll be administered. But stay tuned for April 3rd updates around what content will be included on the assessments that, again, will be administered at home.
And Amber, thank you for that question. That specific question was for AP students, knowing that the exam will still happen. Just a wondering around what students could be doing to prepare for the exam, particularly around items or materials that had not been covered prior to our school closure.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Battle. And you just said to repeat the questions, and I didn't do that. So appreciate the question about continuing to prepare for AP tests and staying updated on those. The College Board has also posted daily lessons, model lessons that are in video form that are available online. If you check the College Board website, you can find it in a couple of clicks, and that is for every single content area that the AP assesses. So those are continually available. And again, reach out to your AP teachers and AP coordinators at your school, and they'll continue to provide supports as they can.
Okay. Ms. Morrow from Paragon Mills said that many of her families speak languages other than English. She has been trying to contact many of them with little success. How can she reach out to her families other than texting with Google Translate or Remind?
So thank you for the question. We know that many of our families don't speak English primarily at home, and we want to make sure that we're providing all the information that's updated and current in a language that helps them understand all of the evolving situation that we're all dealing with. So I want to be clear, first of all, that our district updates that go out are provided in many languages, including Spanish, Arabic, Kurdish, Nepali, Burmese, and that's standard, so that as the district is providing updates that go out, of course, in English, they're also being translated and made available in several other languages. Specifically, there is an app called Talking Points that I think would be helpful for teachers to use. They can send group texts to their families and their students. They can post videos, and it also allows the teacher's phone number to stay private. So that's a very specific app that I think would be useful for teachers to use as they engage their families. A lot of times, just sending a quick text will allow the family the opportunity to respond on their own time, but any effort that you can make along these lines to communicate with those families will certainly be appreciated.
Andrea, a family member at Nashville School of the Arts, wants to know if students will be required to take end-of-the-year course tests. How will this work for seniors, and how will it factor into their grade?
Repeat the question.
Yeah, the great question about end-of-course tests. So, and whether or not they'll be required and how they will impact grades. So what we do know is that the state legislature has passed a bill that will not require end-of-course assessments for any grades. And MNPS will not be offering those tests. We will not be assessing our students with end-of-course state assessments this year. So therefore, there will be no impact on the grades. In terms of how grades are calculated long-term. We do have a plan for how we can calculate the grades, again, so that there is no adverse impact on students for something that's beyond their control. But we are working closely with the state board to see what our options are. But we do have a plan that as we have more information from the state, we're waiting for a meeting on April 9th that will have a way to close out the year that does not adversely impact students, particularly our seniors.
Ms. Kaji Hara from Harpeth Valley asks, if we return to school, will any of these missed days be required to be made up, or will the last day of school still be May 21st?
Thank you for that question, Don, and I'll take that one. This particular question is around if we return to school this school year, will we be required to make up any days upon our return? And the answer to that is that the Tennessee Department of Education has already submitted a waiver for any closures related to the tornadoes or to COVID-19. That waiver was a blanket waiver that does not require school districts to apply for the waiver. So the State Department has done that on behalf of all school districts who were impacted by school closures due to tornadoes or to COVID-19. So with that waiver being in place, the answer to that is no, because that waiver does include waiving the 180-day instructional calendar days that are required per the state. And so all of those areas have been waived. What we are working on is giving the number of days of school closures. As you all recall, we were closed a few days due to tornadoes, and since then, since we've returned, we've been closed again due to COVID-19. And so what we've been working on as a team is coming up with a plan that will continue to provide ongoing learning opportunities for all of our students, whether that be through our digital resources page, whether that be through the printed hard copy packets that we were able to start getting in the hands of students today, looking at increasing the amount of access to students to electronic devices, as well as potential summer learning opportunities, and or what this might look like long term as we look to plan for next school year. So we are planning around what to do about not making up those days given the waivers for school closures as we move forward. Thank you so much for that question.
MNPS family member Janice asked at some point, will there be laptops available for eligible students other than seniors who want to engage in virtual learning?
Yes, thank you. The question is around laptop availability and technology availability for students other than seniors. So I do want to clarify that, yes, seniors have been our priority. We know that they've been working hard to earn credits towards graduation, and we're working hard to make sure that they have every available opportunity and support to earn those credits. But we are, as Dr. Battle mentioned, working on a long-range plan that will include making devices and technology accessible and available. We do have an equity divide and a digital gap that we want to make sure we are closing and working towards mitigating. And so that will include working with our community partners to identify where those needs are and how we can rise to meet those needs and include opportunity for all kids to learn.
Miracle is a student at Early Middle College and asked if there are any plans in place to ensure they are prepared to graduate. This includes final examinations, graduation requirements, and commencement.
So yes, thank you. The question is around how we are preparing students to graduate and what that opportunity will look like. And I want to specify that I am personally involved in overseeing our graduation plan. We do have a plan. I had a phone conference call with all of the high school principals last Friday, and we laid out what our plan will be. As is mentioned before, we do have a meeting April 9th. That's the state board meeting. Well, they are going to clarify some of what the graduation requirement and expectations are for our current seniors. But with this question, I've had to think about my time 25 years ago as a high school senior and what I would prefer it to look like. And again, I'm working to guarantee that there is a strong, viable path for our seniors to graduate and earn those credits. We do know that there are some seniors that may be missing credits from earlier in their high school career or even this year. And so we're quickly working to make those opportunities available for them to earn those credits, to make up those credits, to recover the credits. And so that is something that we're certainly working to provide as options and opportunities. We do have a clear plan in place. Again, it's difficult to release details at this time because we're waiting for some clarity from the state board about exactly what those expectations are. But that will not prevent us from moving forward and creating this plan for our students to graduate. Absolutely.
And if I can add, in response to that question, particularly speaking to our seniors, of course, we are working diligently to create and implement plans for all of our students, pre-K through 12. But particularly to our seniors, we know that you have many, many questions, and we do not take your questions lightly. We know that the decisions we make and based upon our ability to return has a great impact on you closing out your senior year, what impact it has on transcripts, how it will impact you as you move on to your post-secondary opportunities, whether that be through a college or university or going into your career. And so we are studying every single day. We are weighing out every option, opportunity on your behalf to make sure, to the best of our ability, you are not negatively impacted due to the long school closures that you're experiencing. So I just wanted to share that on behalf of the team who's working behind the scenes daily on your behalf. And I wanted to assure you, seniors, that while we're still pushing out answers to your questions, we remain active and eagerly resolving some of the many challenges that the school closures have presented.
The next question is from Ms. Baker. Ms. Baker wants to know what teacher observations look like from this point forward in the year. If a teacher already had their observation, is it equitable for them to still have their scores while other teachers don't? Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Dawn. And this question came in from Ms. Baker as well as Dr. Carlton and Mr. Smedley Warren. The question revolving around what happens with teacher evaluations for the remainder of the school year. So we've been in contact with the State Board of Education, and they are having an emergency meeting on April 9th. And part of that conversation is going to center around teacher observations and what that looks like. They've already stated that no decision that they make should adversely impact teachers or staff, and we will make sure of that as well, whether that comes down to the MNPS applying for waivers or some other kind of guidance for that, but we are waiting for that information from April 9th. But we will ensure that there's an equity and fairness to that so that no teacher is affected adversely by the evaluations. Thank you, Dawn.
Laura is a family member of a student at Hillsborough High School, and she asks, who is responsible for confirming that all teachers are adequately corresponding with their students to ensure ongoing education, and how is that communicated?
And I'll take that question. I heard that question is from Laura, and it's specifically around who's responsible for confirming that teachers are adequately responding and corresponding with their students, and who's holding them accountable for that ongoing education. So I'll take us back just a little bit and share with you that our district released our telework procedures to all staff a few weeks back, just to make sure that we were all shifting at the same time with the right guidance around our ability to continue to support the learning of our students and to support our parents during this critical time. We have also recently put together, comprised a telework playbook that was sent out to all of our school administrators last week. We wanted to be very thoughtful and helpful in giving guidance to our school principals, their leadership teams, on behalf of their teachers and staff, to ensure that we could continue to support all of our students with learning as we continue. We want to make sure that all the progress our students have made, that they are able to maintain and to build upon during the time that we are closed. One aspect of our piece of guidance that was in the Telework Playbook was our expectation for our teachers and staff to reach out and support our students and parents during this time to the best of our ability. We would love for and have encouraged that all of our teachers reach out on a weekly basis, if not a bi-weekly basis, depending on the number of students that are being served. We know, again, this is an unprecedented time for everyone, so our staff has continually begun to shift their way of practice and work but we also know that our educators, our teachers, our MNPS team is also shifting as well. And so with that being in mind, we have set an expectation for us to continue supporting all of our students with their remote learning opportunities. Our principals and school administrators will be supporting our teachers and staff in executing upon that and really managing and progress monitoring how that's working, also sending out additional resources by which and in ways by which we can connect and correspond with our students and families. I would love to encourage everyone to keep in mind that your teachers and staff and administrators might be using multiple avenues, methods by which to correspond with you. So whether that be via email, phone, maybe there's an online platform, Zooming, so many creative and unique ways that our educators have been supporting students. We have teachers who've been writing handwritten cards and notes to our students, dropping off things to them to keep them learning and to support parents during this time. So we have communicated out guidance and expectations around supporting our students and parents, and our school teams will be working closely with their own staff to ensure that we continue to do so during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Battle. Gabby is a high school student at Nashville School of the Arts and wants to know if a student had makeup exams to take before the closure, will their grades reflect what they had already averaged before makeup tests were able to be taken?
Yeah, thank you, Dawn, for the question. And the question is around how we will figure out a way to end the grading period depending on when we come back to school. And of course, the situation is evolving. And so we currently are working towards plans, and we do have certainly some plans that are tentative depending on how the situation unfolds and plays out. But I do know that March 11th was a Wednesday, and that was the last day that kids were in school, and that was the third day back after an extended closure from the tornado. And we know that a lot of times teachers have things due on March 12th, which was the last day of the third quarter. And that would include things like makeup tests or retakes or papers or projects. And other summative assignments that may have been due that day, and we just weren't in school out of our caution. And so I just want to impress upon everyone that we are in no way going to take a stance that will adversely impact anyone by any work that was not able to be turned in. So depending upon when we're able to return to school safely, we'll have plans in place that allow students to continue their work, to turn in assignments that they just didn't get to. I would just encourage you to stay sharp on those that content that you're preparing for retakes and any work that you had intended to turn in on the 12th for the third quarter. Just hold on to that, because I'm hoping you'll get that chance.
MNPS family member Kate is asking, what should parents of students with disabilities expect during this time away from school? What are the resources available for students with disabilities? And what are the plans of MNPS to prevent regression of progress of students with disabilities?
Yeah, thank you so much, Don. So the question is around how parents at home can support students with disabilities. And the first thing is to provide access and engage those students, your students, in the resources that MNPS is providing. As Dr. Battle said, those are available online, mnps.org/digital tools. Beginning today, and then every week, every Monday, we will also be providing those print resources that are available for families also, and that will reflect, again, what will be available online. So encourage our families to engage students in those learning opportunities. Later this week, our team will be producing and providing further guidance and supports for accessibility and accommodations that can be used to support all of our students. So look for that update later this week.
Our next question is from Ms. Polk, who's a staff member with MNPS, and she's asking, why has MNPS not canceled all travel through the end of the school year for all staff and students?
I'll take that one. Thank you for that question, Ms. Polk. And that question is regards to travel for MNPS staff and wondering around why we've not canceled travel for all staff members. So in response to that question, one, I would like to share that we continue, myself and also my team, we are in constant communication with our local health department leaders as well as the mayor's office. And we're also continuing to review and update our practices in accordance to the CDC guidelines. And so with that being said, our previous communication was that all travel has been suspended for Metro Nashville Public School staff due to our closure and until further notice. We will continue to monitor the situation at hand. It is rapidly evolving, and so it does require of us to make sure that we're up to date with the updates that are being provided, being in compliance with the orders from the mayor's office as well. And so we are following suit and have previously put a suspension around our employee travel, and we will remain in that status until further notice.
Thank you. Ms. Rollins works at Percy Priest Elementary and wanted to know if any steps are being taken to collect data regarding the number of COVID-19 cases, if any, within the school populations and their families.
And I'll take that question as well. Thank you. That was a question regarding our ability to track and communicate the number of COVID cases, particularly related to Metro Nashville Public Schools. I'll piggyback on the response to the last question regarding travel, and that is we are in constant communication, again, with our local health officials, with the mayor's office, and creating lines of communication regarding any situation that would cause a particular threat or issue of safety for Metro Nashville Public Schools. Of course, with our schools being closed right now, that need has decreased greatly. However, we continue to be in constant communications also via the mayor's press conference, which is happening daily. During those press conferences, they are updating us on numbers, where they're seeing particular challenges and how they're meeting that need. We know that this is an issue based upon their guidance that continues to grow and continues to be of a concern for us here in Davidson County. And so as numbers grow, I am sure that it will become a little more challenging to track all of the potential individual cases, but we stand ready to remain in communication with our health officials. They have been very supportive in communicating any needs to us here in Metro Nashville Public Schools and advising others if there's additional action that should need to be taken. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Dr. Battle. Stephanie is a family member of a student at J.C. Moore Middle School, and she asks, what advice do you have for parents who want their children to do the work provided by their teachers, but the students decline because you said it was optional?
So great question. So some of the comments that I made earlier, I think apply here too, and a couple of things that I'll just frame out. I think it's first of all important to set a clear expectation for learning, and that learning continues. Second of all, in order to do that, I think it's critically important to set up a schedule and routine and figure out a way to maintain that schedule and routine. So that may be a system of rewards. Also, again, provide students choice about what they learn. Remember that learning can take lots of different forms and modes. Find something that the student wants to learn about, is curious about, is interested in, and even better if the parent is also interested in learning more about a particular topic, and figure out a way that you can work with your children to learn more about that particular topic. Again, balance things like easy tasks, some tasks that may be more challenging. Start early in the morning. Provide the choice where it's do you want to do the math task, or would you like to read a story, and then figure out a way to do that together. There's lots of different ways for students to show their learning. So you can go outside and use chalkboard on the sidewalk, chalk on the sidewalk. You can write down your responses. You can orally say your responses. You can share them with family members. You can make a video. Lots of different ways to be creative about how to engage students in learning. But again, I think it's important to establish a consistent daily routine that's productive, track progress towards the expectations that you set for your children about learning.
And if I can follow up before we move to the next question, and Dr. Williams, I'm going to kick this question over to you. I know last week we started to communicate again our digital resources that are online. We did emphasize two particular platforms around Imagine Learning and the Florida Virtual Schools options, as well as our partnership with NPT. So could you talk a little bit more in detail around just for those three particular resources, why and how that connects to where students were, where they may be preparing for next, given finishing out the school year, or moving into the next grade level, or moving off to college or into their career. Why are those three platforms relevant and could really be a leverage point to engage students who may be struggling with being motivated or just asking simply why? Why do I need to do this right now?
Yeah, great. So thanks, Dr. Battle. So our Imagine Learning platform is available for our K-5 students, and it really focuses on ELA and mathematics. That is a program and a product that we currently had a contract with, and we have a lot of experience using, and our students using in our district. Provides lots of accommodation supports for different learning needs that our students might have, and it's interactive, highly interactive. So we think it's important for our students to have the opportunity to continue to engage in that content provided through that Imagine Learning platform. The Florida Virtual School is available through Schoology, and we have that for many different content areas, and those are provided on our digital schools page, but everything from mathematics, science, social studies, history, economics, government, a lot of our career and technical education courses, those are available through the Florida Virtual School. And so students can go on and access that same exact content that they were currently working in, continue to set out expectations for themselves and goals for themselves to continue to learn and stay sharp during this time. The NPT was a great partnership, working with Kevin Crane, the CEO and president of Nashville Public Television, and starting today, they have redesigned their daily program offerings to include a lot of academic enrichment opportunities for kids to enjoy. And so I think in addition to the printed resources we've had, the many tools and options that we have online, and this partnership with Nashville Public Television allows different learning modes and styles to meet students' different learning needs.
Thank you.
Mr. Hackenmore from Hillsborough High asked if student teachers' long-term positions, such as through the remainder of the school year, will continue to be paid their normal salary.
Thank you, Dawn. This question revolves around substitute teachers and pay. First off, let me remind everyone how important substitutes are for our district and how much we value the support you provide for families and students every day. We were hoping that we would be back to school and back to normal business in a timely fashion, but obviously that has not been the case. We will have to remain closed until at least April 24th, 2020 to comply with Governor Lee's request. And until classes resume, we're going to be unable to provide pay for our substitute teachers. Please know that this was not a decision that we came to lightly. So for all substitutes in our district, we've had the opportunity to apply for immediate unemployment benefits from the state for everyone. It's our plan that you will receive those benefits nearly immediately, and you won't have to fill out the individual paperwork to be approved. The governor has waived the waiting period for unemployment as well as lessened several other requirements. And additionally, the federal government has authorized increased unemployment benefits through the CARES Act. So we know you would rather be teaching our students, and that's where we would rather have you be as well. We know this is a difficult time for everyone, and we look forward to having you back to school when classes resume. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. David is a graduating senior at McGavick High and would like to know what are the plans for fourth quarter and completion of the school year. How will these plans affect graduation, transcripts, etc.?
Yeah, thank you, Dawn. And again, the question is around our expectations for our graduating seniors. And I want to reiterate, some of my earlier comments that we do have a plan in place to ensure that our students, our seniors, have a viable plan to graduate on time in May. And we look forward to executing that plan. We're waiting for further clarity from the state board about exactly what those expectations are and if any flexibilities exist. But we are putting pieces in motion so that once we get that clarity, we're able to execute quickly so that our students have time they need to earn the credits that they may be lacking currently, as well as provide any supports that they need in order to successfully do that. In terms of grades, again, we do have a plan pending the further guidance from the state board, but a plan to successfully wrap the year for seniors. We're looking at third quarter grades. The lack of the end of course assessments is, again, that we talked about will not happening, and the opportunities that we're missing right now to have fourth quarter grades. So we're working with our technology teams as well as several other teams to have a plan in place that's ready to go, that again will not take any adverse consequences to our seniors who have been working for 13 years for this very moment. And we want to provide the opportunities, as Dr. Battle said earlier, so that they can continue with their lives, move forward, and capitalize on the post-secondary plans that they've been making.
Yeah, and if I can add, this is one time I wish I had a crystal ball where I could predict what this might look like to the day as we move forward. And so I just want to echo what Dr. Williams has just shared and what our team is committed to, because we recognize that every day does matter to all of our students. We're trying to expedite getting out materials and supports as quickly as we can, and we are also trying to, in the meantime, solve for all the different scenarios that we could be facing. We know that we have some decision points that are going to come from some other entities in the next few weeks, but we're not waiting for those decisions. We are constantly planning. We're thinking through and about where we were in our school year, in our quarter, so that no student is negatively impacted. We're also thinking about how we keep learning going for all of our students, and how we can continue to provide enrichment opportunities during this time of closure and at the point in time that we resume to our normal schedule. The reality is that it's very difficult to predict what it might look like, and so we're not going to just function on the might and the hope. We're going to be acting now and in the long term to ensure you have what you need, and so we will keep our lines of communication open. We are relying on all of the experts here in Metro Nashville Public Schools, including those of you watching at home and other leaders within our community to really partner with us to make sure that we can accelerate our ability to meet the needs of all of our students, regardless of where you were in your academic year. Back to you, Don.
Thank you. Heather is a family member of a Kip College Prep student, and she's asked, what is the plan for students in regards to progressing on to the next grade once they return to class? Will they go to school throughout the summer months?
I'll start with that. Yes, the question is about returning to school and what the transition plan might be, including the possibility of summer school. And I'll just say that at this point, of course, this situation is something that we're paying closely attention to as it evolves daily, hourly, but we're mindful of the lost instructional time that students have. And again, as much as we're trying to do to provide resources and families, you cannot replace that face-to-face interaction with a teacher. We know how critical that is. We're also very mindful of where students left off in their learning back in a few weeks ago, and how we can successfully transition them forward into the next grade. And that is our plan. And whether that looks like some remedial work that might include some summer work, or building in some extra remedial work or scaffolds into the next year, but we are working hard to make sure we have plans in place to transition students forward into their next grade.
And I'll just add to that, I'll just take an opportunity to really plug to our students and to our parents to really utilize and maximize the time that we have, although we're not in our school buildings. This is not a time for us to just sit back and not be engaged. We want our students engaged. Students, we want you to be reading. Myself and Ken Oliver just sent out a message earlier last week encouraging our students to read 20 to 30 minutes a day, engaging with those online materials, really just exploring areas of interest, tuning in to NPT, anything that really sparks your learning, that keeps you engaged. We really encourage you to do so. Parents, we will continue to push out supports to you. We know that this has had an impact on you and your families and the routines that you have set, so we will continue to support you to the best of our ability. in this remote learning space. I had the pleasure of being out and about today as we were distributing meals and packets to our students, and I had an opportunity to speak to one young man who is a 7th grader at one of our middle schools, and he grabbed his packet and he told me he was going to go and complete everything in the packet today. And so he was very eager to have his materials and to get started. I'm not suggesting that we moved at that rapid speed either, but just to see his level of engagement and motivation and just wanting to continue to learn, I encourage that everyone really take advantage of. So whether that be online materials, printed materials, reading a great book together, and really asking questions, going outside. We've talked about the chalk walk. Being active outside matters as well. And so students, if you're listening, if you're tuned in, please take this time very seriously to take care of your health and well-being, taking stock and being sure that you're practicing some of the safe care advice that we've sent out, but also to take care of really growing and progressing as a lifelong learner.
Holly is a parent of 3 sons who attend 3 different MNPS schools, elementary, middle, and high. Holly's question is, what's the official district guidance on what schools are supposed to be doing during this time?
So, Don, thanks for the question in terms of what our specific expectations are for students and teachers to maintain contact during this extended closure. And again, we are expecting our teachers to be in touch. Dr. Battle has clarified that once or twice weekly, check in with their students and in any way that they can to provide supports to identify any of their learning needs. But also, as we've said, I think it's just important to provide a touch point that provides some sense of stability and normalcy, as the uncertainty that we face can cause a lot of anxiety. So a lot of our expectations are really around providing touch points, contacts, seeing what needs are, and of course, as always, trying to provide engaging opportunities for academic work, academic learning, that they can continue in a variety of creative ways that we have certainly seen.
Ms. Brady from Whites Creek High School asks, will dual credit students be able to take their challenge exams at home if we do not return to school? If not, can they double up next year to take the test they missed this year at the district expense, since we wouldn't have used this year's funds?
So this is a great question. I think the question, Don, was around dual credit opportunities for challenge exams, and I missed the last part of your question. If you could repeat it, so I can make sure the audience can hear.
Will dual credit students be able to take their challenge exams at home if we do not return to school? If not, can they double up next year to take the test that they missed this year at the district expense, since we wouldn't have used this year's funds?
Okay, great. So the last part of the question is, what about non-seniors? Can they come back and be able to take the challenge exam next year, perhaps for credit? So great question. And we're working in the space with a lot of our dual enrollment and dual credit partners, because we know that those exist with a variety of different universities, Vanderbilt, Tennessee State, Nashville State, of course. And so we're working with those university partners to establish what are the expectations for our students to continue to earn credit that would yield college level credit. We think that's important to provide every student with the opportunity and availability to continue to earn those credits, whether they're able to take those this year or whether we can work with them to establish certainly a viable way for them to complete those in the following years. For seniors, again, what we're trying to do is think about how we can separate what constitutes MNPS credit for their diploma, and we want to make sure that happens. But also, if students are interested in continuing to pursue any dual enrollment and dual credit opportunities, that they are provided that opportunity as well. So again, a lot of this is evolving with communication that we have with our many university partners, and each may look a little bit different, but we certainly want to provide clarity and guidance for our seniors who want to continue to pursue those opportunities. We think it's great that we have so many kids involved in those credit options, and we want to make sure that those credits can be earned and that they have all the supports and tools they need to earn those credits. Thank you for that question.
Mr. Smedley Warren and J.E. Moss asked if teachers will be required to submit portfolios.
Thank you, Don. As we spoke about before, we're still working on getting that guidance from the State Board of Education. As soon as we know what their guidance is, we will work together with all teachers to resolve that question.
Can we repeat that question just to make sure for clarity everyone can follow?
Sure. The question revolved around evaluations and submitting portfolios for teacher evaluation. Once we determine what the state board's guidance will be, we will communicate all that to teachers as well.
And I'll piggyback on that question as well. I know we've received multiple questions regarding teacher evaluations, portfolios, what might be remaining if we were to come back to school. And so I just want to share with all of our staff members, there is a waiver out there to relieve us of those expectations around evaluations. And on behalf of all of our employees, we will spur into action if there's any other additional required action on our behalf to make sure, again, that you're not negatively impacted, that we're being supportive and as supportive in nature as possible to make sure you have what you need and that we're fair around how we proceed. And so I just wanted to echo what Dr. Barnes has shared and give you an extra element of assurance that we will do everything within our control and power to set you up for success as we continue to build our own capacity to serve our students to the best of our ability.
MNPS family member Celia asks, since we have missed the original time frame to register children for pre-K next year, how will we be able to do that?
So thank you for the question. It's around pre-K registration. So our pre-K department, our early learning department has shifted to accommodate different ways for pre-K families to register. That information is being communicated first to our schools so that our 12-month employees who are currently fielding a lot of the questions from our families are able to respond. And we're going to provide more broad guidance across the district for all families to ensure that they have the opportunity to register for pre-K. But absolutely, we are certainly having to shift course, of course, to change how we field those applications. And that process is being converted now. And we will communicate clearly so that every student has that same opportunity to apply for pre-K. Thank you.
Thank you. MNPS staff member Susan asks, has there been any determination regarding the ACT? She teaches juniors and they are concerned that they will not be prepared.
So the question is around the ACT and whether or not, I think, Dawn, part of the question is about the assessment being administered, but also around how juniors can continue to stay abreast of the content and stay current on the content. So first of all, the original ACT, I believe, was scheduled for March 31st. That obviously is canceled. The makeup day was scheduled for April 21st. That will also be canceled. I know that the state board is again considering what exemptions might exist around the ACT for our students to take. However, and except for that guidance, we know that the ACT is an important piece of credentialing that our students attain as they make their post-secondary plans. And so there's plenty of opportunities for students to stay engaged in that learning. We definitely have resources that we can make available and continue to provide availability. And some of the packets that we've been referenced, some of those questions in that activity include some ACT practice questions that we have that are included in those resources as well. But we can continue to provide opportunities for students to stay current with the ACT content. But I think, as we've said broadly, anything that you can do to stay productive in your learning and your academic thought will go a long ways towards continuing to be prepared for the ACT when that comes.
Thank you. For our last question is from MNPS staff member Shannon, and she asks, "Are we done for the year?"
I will refer to Dr. Battle.
Shannon, thank you for that question. So that the viewing audience follows, the question was, are we done for the year? I think this goes back to my response earlier in the hour around wanting that this is a perfect time, if I had that crystal ball, that I could really look into and predict what the future is going to hold for us given the amount of time left we have in the school year. Shannon, to answer your question, question, I don't know exactly what that may look like. What I can assure you is this. We will stay in communication with our health officials, health experts, the mayor's office, and all those involved in making these critical decisions. We will lean on their expertise as we make decisions regarding school closures as we move forward. We will always keep our students, our staff, our families in mind because your health, your well-being, your safety is priority for us. We still have an obligation to make sure that you're learning, you're growing, that we're supporting our staff, we're supporting our parents who are supporting our students every single day. So while I do not have the answer to that question, we will continue to respond with the utmost regard to the health officials. This is an opportunity for me to press upon our community, our MNPS community, to really follow the guidance, really practice social distancing. We're sitting the way we're sitting today to model that for you, and the safer at home expectations. And so we will be also transitioning back to working remotely to support our district. But we're keeping you at the forefront, at the heart of everything that we do. And Don, if that was the last question, I'll just take a few minutes to wrap up this first, right? Maybe first of many virtual town halls. Again, I'll speak to the students first. Students, stay engaged, stay connected. As we're rolling out opportunities for you to continue to grow, I encourage you to really take advantage of those opportunities, whether it be through books or hard copy or digital online devices, whatever it may be. We really need you to stay in tune with us so that at the point we resume school, you're ready to go. To our teachers, to our staff, our certificated, non-certificated staff, thank you for shifting so swiftly, especially coming off of the tornado devastation right into the COVID-19 situation right before spring break. I appreciate you shifting and not once questioning or challenging what it is we need to do to support our students at home while they're learning remotely. So thank you. I know that you're balancing a lot as well. I know that you have been greatly impacted. To our parents, we don't leave you alone. We know that this can be a very difficult or challenging time for you, especially with now an extended school closure. I get it. We get it. As a mother of two young ones at home, I am establishing routines as well because I'm working from home when at all possible, and I'm also trying to keep my little ones growing and learning as well. And so what we'll continue to do as a team is push out additional resources. We'll try to keep you in close communication. We'll try to get you updates as swiftly as we can to ensure you have the supports necessary. You will experience and probably have already many of our staff members reaching out to you to check on you, to offer supports. We're trying to be very mindful that in any one child's life that we have the ability, we're fortunate enough to serve on a daily basis. We know that there are many adults in their lives who care about them, who want to reach out, and so we're trying to be mindful about that. So as we're setting guidance and expectations around how often, we're trying to be thoughtful. So those communications could come easily from the teacher, from a support staff member, from a school administrator, from a counselor, school counselor, from a restorative practice assistant. It could be from your family involvement specialist, community achieves leader. It could be from any one of our staff members. Again, I was out today with a few of our bus drivers and nutrition services leaders, and they were out knocking on doors, making sure that students who were in the vicinity of our food distribution had access to it. And so we don't want to overwhelm you with support, but understand that there are many adults from MNPS in your child's life who care about them and really care about their well-being and their learning while we're out. I want to give a shout out to our school board members who really had this great idea for us to continue to use many avenues to communicate with all of you and to make sure that your questions are being answered in a timely fashion. So thank you, board members, for this great idea. Thank you for your continued support and for your vision around how we want to collectively move forward, both in the short term and long term as a district. To all the community leaders, we will be calling on you and counting on you as we move forward. This is another great opportunity to show just how strong we are here in Nashville Strong, as well as MNPS Strong. So thank you for your continued support and generous offers to make sure our students have what they need. Dawn, our student moderator, thank you so much for your leadership. Dawn also serves as our board intern, and she has for a couple years now. So we thank you for taking out the time to sift through those questions and being courageous enough to ask them on air for us today. So as we close, I just again want to encourage everyone to continue to follow all of our district updates online, social media. We've posted several different websites and pages to keep you up to date. We'll get that information to you as quickly as we can. We're also using our call out system for updates on a daily basis, it feels like almost. So stay tuned for that information. Our virtual town hall today will be posted online for those who were unable to tune in today, or if you need to go back and reference a particular question you may think of later. So we thank you. Everyone, please be safe. You are safer at home, but we will continue to engage you remotely at home to the best of our ability. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.edu.